He was constantly mocked for being the weakest, but after meeting a mysterious genie who grants him a wish, he suddenly gains unstoppable power that makes every girl notice him. Ara Mochibi is introduced as the main protagonist of the story. At the beginning, Ara is preparing himself while talking about being part of a music band. Soon after, the scene shifts to two boys relaxing on the floor when they suddenly hear a bizarre noise coming from inside a closet. As the sound grows louder and stranger, both of them panic and quickly run away. The anime then explains the existence of creatures known as Hankitos, beings fated to battle others through pure hand-to-hand combat. Not long after, Ara reaches the academy where a teacher guides him around the campus. The moment he notices that almost everyone in the classroom is male, he immediately loses hope and believes his school life will be miserable. But while looking around, he spots a beautiful girl named Maoro, sitting in the back. The instant he sees her, he becomes completely captivated and even starts imagining a future where they get married. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a boy is violently beating up another student. A little later, Maoro invites Ara to go somewhere more private so they can spend time alone together. Ara becomes incredibly excited by the idea, but before he can follow her, several boys get in his way. While trying to escape the situation by causing a distraction, he accidentally bumps into a very intimidating guy. At first, Ara gets scared, but he soon realizes that the person in front of him is actually his childhood friend, Matakara. This causes Ara to remember the days when they were still kids. Matakara proudly tells the others that the two of them have known each other since childhood, because they both dreamed of becoming Jonkivitos. However, Ara acts like he does not care about any of that anymore and quickly leaves while pretending to be uninterested. Much later, Ara heads back home where we are introduced to his mother Yaeko. She owns a restaurant, and the same boys from earlier can be seen eating there. In another part of the city, a gang leader named Marito appears and punches the same guy Matakara had beaten up before. The following day, Ara starts thinking about Matakara and remembers how they used to fight people together when they were younger. After school finally ends and lunch break arrives, Ara goes up to the rooftop to eat with Maoro. She tells him that she wants them to become friends, and Ara instantly becomes obsessed with romantic fantasies involving her. Right then, Matakara attempts to talk to him, but because Ara feels awkward around him, he chooses to ignore him instead. Later on, Matakara explains to his friends that they have always looked up to Ara. Meanwhile, some of his friends notice Ara hanging out with Maoro and think they should inform Matakara about it. Several hours later, Ara eventually joins Matakara's group for a trip to the arcade. The group immediately starts making fun of Ara after seeing him together with Maoro. During that moment, one of them suddenly notices a group of men dressed in white and warns everyone to leave. Those men approach Ara and mock him for wandering into their territory alone. After catching him, they strip away his clothes, forcing Ara to run away in embarrassment while Matakara's friends laugh non-stop at him. At the same time, another boy hides inside a mysterious club after witnessing Ara being chased by the men in white. He becomes nervous after realizing that one of those men is inside the building. Elsewhere, Ara eventually arrives at what appears to be an abandoned temple. After accidentally crashing into a box, he discovers a weapon and points it at the men threateningly. Unfortunately for him, they only laugh at his attempt. Desperate, Ara pulls the trigger, but the bullet ricochets off the walls and strikes him directly in the head instead. The men leave afterward, and sometime later Ara regains consciousness. Upon waking up, he notices a strange object attached to his head. The moment he touches it, a genie named Senya suddenly appears before him. Senya explains that Ara is now capable of making any wish he desires. However, the genie quickly becomes disappointed after realizing how weak and cowardly Ara is. Even after giving him a detailed explanation and telling him to wish for something important, Ara embarrassingly reveals that his only wish is to lose his virginity. Because of this, Senya decides to give him another opportunity and understands that Ara is simply a teenager controlled by his hormones. Instead of granting the wish directly, Senya offers to form a pact with him. Shortly afterward, Ara walks around the city asking random people whether they can see the genie beside him, causing several girls to think he is insane and run away in fear. Meanwhile, Matakara and his friends start believing that Ara has completely lost his mind after seeing him running through the streets in only his underwear. Back with Ara, Senya spends time with him while showing off several items he has created. The genie then teases Ara by asking if one of those objects is meant to be a present for Maoro. The next morning, Ara's mother notices that he suddenly looks unusually handsome, making her excited because she assumes her son is finally going on a date. After some time passes, Ara reaches the park, where Mauro soon arrives as well, since they agreed to spend time together. Even while sitting beside her, Ara remains painfully shy. Seeing this, Seya keeps teasing him and tells him that now would be the perfect chance to give Mauro the item he prepared for her. After spending more time together, Mauro says a few things that completely captivate Ara. Seeing this, Seya pushes Ara to finally hand over the gift he prepared for her. Ara manages to gather enough courage, but right when he is about to present it, he suddenly feels an intense need to use the bathroom. Like a defeated warrior, he embarrassingly rushes toward a public restroom instead. Sometime later, Ara comes back to Mauro, and she calmly tells him that everything is fine. Taking advantage of the moment, Ara gives her a stone called the Eternal Love Stone, although Mauro does not really understand its meaning. Just as Ara is preparing to confess his feelings, a loud group of boys suddenly interrupts them, and among them appears Marito, stepping down from one of the carts. The moment Ara notices Marito, he immediately panics and grabs Mauro's hand to pull her away from there. This action annoys Marito right away. Mauro quickly understands the situation and tells Ara that she would like to see him fight for her. Hearing those words makes Ara lose his mind even more because of how deeply obsessed he already is with her. Trying to look fearless, Ara stares directly at Marito. In response, Marito angrily says that nobody has ever dared to touch his little sister before, and because of that, Ara is going to suffer the consequences. Ara is completely stunned after learning that Mauro is actually Marito's sister. Somewhere else, Kakeru, one of Matakara's friends, mentions that they should go watch Ara get destroyed. Those words make Matakara worried, so he quickly rushes toward the scene. Meanwhile, Ara is already getting beaten mercilessly by Marito. Seeing this, Sen thinks that another unfortunate victim is about to fall at Marito's hands. However, Ara slowly begins building up his courage, and just before Marito lands the finishing blow, Seya becomes excited because he realizes Ara is finally ready to make his wish. But instead of asking for strength or power, Ara once again shamelessly declares that his greatest wish is to lose his virginity. Because of that ridiculous desire, Seya merges together with Ara and blocks Marito's incoming attack. Using the combined power of Seya, Ara launches a powerful punch straight into Marito's stomach and sends him flying backward. Everyone watching is left speechless because Marito had never once been hit by anyone before. At the same time, Matakara starts believing that Ara may truly be the real Honkivito. Meanwhile, Seya and Ara begin arguing since Seya cannot believe that Ara wasted his wish on something so perverted. Instead of wishing for incredible abilities, while the two are distracted arguing, Marito suddenly attacks again and punches Ara. Matakara immediately rushes over to check on him. Meanwhile, Marito stares at the massive wound left by Ara's earlier punch and tells everyone that he now wants Ara to become part of their gang. Hours later, Ara regains consciousness after passing out. Matakara welcomes him warmly and explains that everyone was amazed by the punch he landed on Marito. As they continue talking, Matakara reveals that he still lives in the same place they used to know from childhood. Even though Matakara continues treating him kindly, Ara still prefers keeping his distance and starts walking away from him. Right afterward, the story explains the reason why Ara has been avoiding his old childhood friend all this time. Once outside, Ara starts arguing with Seya because the genie insists that they should go challenge Marito again. Soon after, Seya forcefully drags Ara around while searching for Marito, and during their search they encounter Kakeru, who had been chasing one of the rival gang members. When Kakeru accidentally touches the object attached to Ara's head, Seya suddenly reveals himself in front of him, terrifying Kakeru and making him run away immediately. Later that night, while Ara is showering, he starts realizing just how overwhelming the power he gained from fusing with Seya truly is. Seya also explains that their fusion is still incomplete, meaning Ara has not yet unlocked all of the abilities available to him. The genie continues by explaining that once they fully synchronize, Ara will gain powers far beyond anything he could currently imagine. Elsewhere, Mauro arrives together with her brother, and Marito assures her that he is perfectly fine since she had been worried after Ara injured him. During that moment, A group led by a man named Nagare appears and informs Marito that Matakara brought Era back to his house. Hearing this, Marito decides that Matakara should also be recruited into their gang. The following day, Ara returns to the academy only to discover that the entire school is waiting for him. After becoming famous for defeating Marito, everyone now wants to challenge him in a fight. The instant Ara notices all the students approaching him, he immediately runs inside the academy building in panic. At the same time, Kakeru speaks with Matakara and warns him to stay away from Ara because after seeing the genie the previous day, he believes Ara has become cursed. Despite the warning, Matakara insists that Ara's strange powers resemble the ancient legends surrounding the Honkivitos. Several hours later, Matakara arrives at the academy and unexpectedly runs into Marito. Marito asks him for information about Ara because he still wants to recruit him into the gang. Those words clearly upset Matakara since he does not want Ara involved with them. Meanwhile, back in the classroom, Ara accidentally shouts at everyone to be quiet because he was talking to Senya out loud. The entire class becomes frightened, and the moment Ara notices Marito approaching the room, he instantly escapes once again. Ara immediately goes out to have lunch and heads toward where Maoro is. The girl seems very angry with him, and Ara apologizes for what happened. He says that the next time he faces Marito, he will show what he is really made of. This only makes Maoro even angrier, so she grabs Ara's gift and breaks it, leaving him completely disappointed. After a long while, Maoro arrives together with her brother, and like a true northern girl, she becomes fascinated after seeing him. However, when she gets close to him, he is half asleep and ends up punching her in the face. On top of that, he asks her to take care of Ara, and like a true masochist, she accepts. Back with Ara, he becomes completely heartbroken and also a little sad because Maoro destroyed his gift. Meanwhile, Matakara writes a letter to his brother and mentions how happy he is that Ara has returned to him once again. At that moment, Matakara notices the presence of something, so he takes out the friendship stone that Ara had given him. The next day, we see Ara in class feeling completely depressed because his heart was broken. Matakara arrives to encourage him and says that he wants Ara to join his group. Just then, some members of Marito's gang arrive, and the situation immediately becomes tense. Matakara tells them that if they want to talk to Ara, they will have to face him first, so both sides head outside to fight. As soon as they reach the schoolyard, everyone starts cheering for the fight because they are used to battles and think it will be exciting. Even Senja says that he wants to watch the fight between the boys, but Ara, being a coward, thinks that it is a terrible idea. As his final words, Senja tells him that he should not abandon his friend, but out of nervousness, Ara says that he suddenly needs to poop. Meanwhile, Nagare and Matakara begin fighting, and we see that both of them have an extremely high level of combat because they are expert fighters, and neither of them can land a hit. Finally, after exchanging several blows with Nagare, Matakara performs a move that lands a kick on Nagare's head. However, it seems to have no effect because Nagare returns the impact with a punch that sends Matakara to the ground. The boy barely manages to block the attack, and both of them end up smashing their heads together. Ara arrives at that moment, and we see that Matakara is the winner. Senja gets angry at Ara because they missed the fight while he was pooping. Ara notices that his friend looks strange, so when Matakara is about to fall, he helps him. Shortly after, Ara talks privately with him and says that he does not fight badly. However, just as Ara is about to leave, Matakara once again asks him to join his group and continue the dream of becoming a Honkito. But Ara does not care about that and decides to keep walking away without listening to him. Just then, Matakara tells him that the leader of their group is risking his position against Marito himself. This changes Ara's mind after realizing that he will be facing his future brother-in-law. After a long while, Ara and his friend wait for the leader of the group. Soon, a man named Kenichi appears. The man creates a tense atmosphere because he looks extremely tough and gives off a very intimidating presence. Matakara tries to introduce Ara, but Ara boldly says that he wants to fight Kenichi once again, because if he managed to beat Marito, then he believes he can beat him too. At that moment, Ara becomes excited again and shouts with all his heart that what he desires most is to stop being a virgin. Instantly, Senja gives him his power, and after charging toward Kenichi, Ara lands a punch that sends him crashing into the wall. Everyone there is left completely shocked after seeing their leader get defeated with a single punch. or at least that is what Era believes, because once again he gets distracted by Senja, and Kenichi suddenly gets back up and punches him, sending him flying away. After a long while, we see Era lying on a stretcher, while everyone becomes nervous after seeing the punch Kenichi received in the stomach. At that moment, Kenichi writes on a scroll that he has fallen in love with Era and his strength. The next day, while Era is in class, Marito suddenly appears and climbs onto Era's shoulders. He says that he accepts Era joining the group, after Maoro begged him to do it. At that moment, Matakara arrives and becomes shocked after seeing that the gang successfully recruited Ara. Matakara asks Era if he is truly sure about his decision, but Marito answers for him and says yes. He also says that if Matakara wants Era back, then he will have to take him by force. After that, both boys leave the place together. Later, we are told that a long time ago, Anichi defeated the rival leader of his gang. Because of that, a new leader appeared, and that person was Marito. He even gave the gang a name, which was Siguma Squad. Back with Ara, one of Marito's companions named Tatsuto, explains to him how the entire gang works. Senya feels happy after seeing that they now belong to the Siguma Squad gang. Ara shows a bit of interest and thinks that the only real reason he joined the group was because of Maoro. Soon after, Marito's group arrives and tells him that they are going out for a little trip. While they are walking through the city, we can see that Nagare is clearly unhappy about Ara's presence. Then they notice that the same guys who attacked and stripped Ara the other day are now robbing another boy. This causes Marito to step in and kick one of the guys. Nagare angrily tells them that the NG boys should not be attacking students from their school. Here we realize that the NG boys will later become an important gang. The men become alert and pull out knives to fight because they are afraid of their leader and need to collect as much money as possible. Even so, Marito beats both of them badly. Afterward, he returns the wallet to the boy, and they continue on their way. Meanwhile, in another scene, Maoro is talking on the phone when Matakara grabs her hand because he wants her attention. However, Maoro gets angry and tells him to let go, but since Matakara refuses, she screams loudly, causing him to release her. Maoro runs away while calling him a complete pervert, leaving Matakara very confused because he only wanted to ask her something about Ara. Back with Ara, we see that they arrive at a party that was prepared for him. Everyone happily welcomes him, while Ara only thinks about the girls there. Then one of the guys announces that they are all going to play a game together. Everyone aggressively starts playing rock, paper, scissors, and the loser will receive a powerful punch. This leaves Ara completely shocked, while Senja becomes excited because he has never seen games like this before. Soon, Marito tells Ara that now it is their turn to play, making Ara extremely nervous. At that moment, Marito hypes up the game together with the others, and after a while he finally tells Ara that it is time to show his true punch. Senja tells Ara that even though he wants to help him fight, he should not do it because it would not be fair. This only makes Ara even more nervous, and he immediately starts begging for help. Then a man known as Death arrives to challenge Ara. Ara becomes terrified after realizing that he might actually die in this fight. This touches Senja's heart, so he tells Ara that he will help him fight after all. Ara knows that if he loses, they might kill him right there. However, when the game starts, Ara loses the first round immediately. Ara thinks that his end has come because he is about to get destroyed. Just when the man throws a punch, Senja holds Ara's head firmly in place, and after the punch lands directly on his face, Ara does not even move. This shocks everyone there because nobody except Marito had ever endured a punch from that man. We even see that the man slightly injures his own hand, so Tatsuto, who is acting as the judge of the game, gives the victory to Ara for clearly enduring the punch. Senja becomes extremely happy about this, while Ara is dying inside after receiving such a powerful hit. Soon after, Tatsuto asks the man if he is okay because his hand was practically injured after punching Ara's skull. However, the man simply excuses himself by saying that he needs to go to the bathroom. Afterward, Nagare becomes the next person to challenge Ara. He looks very eager to fight because ever since Ara joined the group, Nagare has wanted to beat him up. Ara feels terrible because after receiving that punch earlier, he is no longer at 100%. The round begins, and Ara somehow wins it. This makes Nagare a little nervous, but he puffs out his chest and says that he will endure Ara's punch. However, just when Ara moves in to hit him, he suddenly notices that everything seems to move in slow motion. Nagare wonders what the hell Ara is doing, but we then see that Ara, being a total pervert, is staring at some girls in the distance, so he ends up giving Nagare only a very soft tap. Even so, everyone there is left in shock because they mention that the move focuses all power into one strike, and was used by a legendary fighter, so they end up giving the victory to Ara once again. At that moment, Marito excitedly approaches Ara and tells him that now it is his turn. However, because Ara is talking with Senja, he tells him to shut up. Marito becomes angry because he thinks Ara is talking to him, so he intimidates Ara with a terrifying present. Tatsuto starts the game, and Marito prepares himself seriously, but Ara suddenly stops the match because he is so scared that he feels like he is about to poop himself. Because of this, they give him time to go to the bathroom. However, when Ara reaches the bathroom and opens the door, he sees the man from the first round injured inside. Ara quickly calls the others over, and when they arrive, they notice a small bandana belonging to a rival gang. Because of this, they start thinking that they need to do something about the situation. At that moment, Nagare implies that the man called Death lost against someone weaker than him. This makes Marito very angry because he knows that his companion would never lose that easily. After a long while, Ara returns home and finds Mauro there. This causes Ara's mother to act strangely after seeing the girl inside the house. At that moment, Ara says that because he received such a strong hit to the head, he is thinking about leaving the gang. However, Mauro responds by slapping him. She also tells him that when Marito eventually retires, he will probably pass the gang down to her, so she begs Ara to defeat her brother a second time. After making a loving gesture toward him, Ara completely loses his mind. Once she leaves, Mauro thinks that if Ara wins and inherits the gang, she will be able to keep her little brother close and spend time alone with him. After some time, Ara is seen training, and Senja becomes excited after hearing that Ara wants to fully fuse with him. However, Ara's mother is secretly spying on him and naturally thinks that he is talking about doing something naughty with Mauro. Meanwhile, Nagare and his companion run into some members of the rival gang. The men provoke them, and Nagare ends up beating them badly. However, after they leave, we discover that the true people behind all of this are the men in white, also known as the Angi boys. The next day, while Ara is in physical education class, Matakara invites him to become his partner. Even though Ara half-heartedly accepts, they are interrupted by someone informing them that their companions have been attacked. When they arrive, they find them tied to a tree, and they immediately think that the Yuma group was responsible, so they instantly go to beat up the Siguma members. Meanwhile, the Senji boys watch the chaos they are creating between the gangs. This greatly angers Marito, who heads toward Kenichi in order to settle the matter like real men, since both gangs believe the other side has been attacking their members. At that moment, Marito attacks Kenichi, but Matakara blocks the attack. Even so, Marito still lands a punch on him. The groups begin arguing about the situation and about how both gangs keep blaming each other for what happened. Kakeru and Nagare start arguing because Kakeru accuses Nagare's group of mocking their allies by stripping them naked and humiliating them. However, Nagare denies it and says that it was Kenichi's group instead. The argument escalates, and someone ends up delivering a headbutt. At that moment, they bring out the bandana that was found beside the dead man, and the atmosphere calms down for a moment. However, Marito warns them that if they do not find the real culprit within one day, then a war will begin between both gangs. Because of this, Matakara becomes very worried. In another scene, we see Ara becoming highly motivated to defeat Marito, because just remembering Mauro's words instantly inspires him. Soon, Ara arrives at Marito's hideout and notices that everyone there looks extremely tense. Tatsuto then pulls Ara aside and explains that there will be a war if they fail to find the culprit behind everything. Unlike Senja, who is eager to fight, Ara becomes nervous. Tatsuto also tells Ara that Marito is very excited to fight against Kenichi. In another scene, Matakara is talking with his friends when they notice that his brother's uniform is right beside him. At that moment, Matakara remembers when his brother told him to work hard in order to become a Hankivito. We also discover that his brother is currently in a juvenile detention center. Matakara then takes out the friendship stone that Ara gave him and says that they should go somewhere else, even though they had originally planned to eat lunch together. Just as he leaves, one of the boys tells Kakeru that it is strange because he has not seen him wearing his hood for several days. Kakeru becomes nervous and makes up an excuse, saying that a crow stole it. The other boy, clearly not believing him, scares away several crows and jokingly asks which one of them took it. At that moment, Kakeru remembers when he met the leader of the Angi boys, a man named Akataro. Akataro tried to tell him that even though they belonged to different gangs, they should still be friends. However, when Kakeru refused, Akataro beat him badly and stole the bandana that had been found beside the dead man in order to start a war between both gangs. Back in the present, Kakeru thinks that he does not have enough courage to admit that he lost the bandana. In another scene, Ara talks with Senja and says that now he no longer needs to fight Marito because if Kenichi wins, he will probably inherit the gang and stay together with Maoro. However, if Kenichi loses, then Ara could become the new leader instead, and Maoro would be heartbroken, which would probably make her fall in love with him. After a long while, Ara arrives home, and his mother tells him that Matakara is there. The two head to Ara's room to talk, and Matakara asks Ara to convince Marito to stop the war, because neither gang fights through betrayal. Matakara also tells Ara that he wants to be by his side again because, after all, they were best friends ever since they were children. However, Ara gets angry at that moment because he does not want Matakara treating him like a child anymore. He says that his dreams of becoming a Honkivito are already dead. Even Senja becomes surprised after hearing Ara speak so seriously. At that moment, Matakara remembers the time when Ara gave him the friendship stone. This makes him feel a little sad as he remembers how close they used to be. But Ara, feeling irritated and upset, ends up kicking his friend out of his room. All of this happens while Ara's gossip-loving mother thinks that the two of them just had some kind of youthful drama. After a long while, we see Senja trying to make Ara confess the real reason why he has been fighting with his friend. Ara refuses to tell him anything. Meanwhile, Matakara looks very sad because his brother will return in a few weeks, and he has no idea what to do because he feels completely alone. The next day, Ara looks extremely happy beside Maoro. Unlike her, since she is only using him in order to stay close to her brother. Ara tells her that there is no need to fight her brother, because if Kenichi defeats him, then Marito will probably trust him enough to pass down leadership of the gang. At that moment, Maoro agrees with him and says that she no longer needs Ara. However, they are interrupted when Matakara arrives, or at least Ara thinks that his friend came to see him. Instead, Matakara says that he actually wants to talk with Maoro. Ara is left completely shocked as the two of them head somewhere else to talk privately. Being the nosy person that he is, Ara secretly follows them and asks Senja if Matakara is about to confess his love. Senja teases him by saying that Matakara is a much better man than him anyway. We then see Matakara asking Maoro to convince her brother not to start the war, because he knows that something suspicious is happening. Maoro says that she cannot do that, and Matakara replies that then Ara will probably be able to do it instead. However, because she refuses, Matakara grabs her hand, and just as Maoro is about to scream, he covers her mouth. This causes Ara, who is secretly watching them, to think that they are having some kind of romantic moment, so he immediately faints. In the end, Matakara explains that he also has a brother and does not want conflict between both gangs, which finally calms Maoro down. Right after that, Ara returns to the rooftop, and Maoro arrives to speak with him. She tells Ara that she wants him to stop her brother, and because she makes a loving gesture toward him, Ara once again becomes completely charmed. However, when Ara heads toward Marito, he becomes nervous after realizing that he probably cannot convince him. Marito even invites him to eat together, and because of that, Ara fails to tell him to stop the war. Meanwhile, Matakara tries to stop Kenichi's group, but everyone there is already eager to fight, so they immediately start heading toward the battlefield. At that moment, Kakeru approaches Matakara and can no longer handle the pressure, so he confesses what happened with the member of the Engine Boys gang. This makes Matakara thank him, and he replies that he needs to go finish something first. Meanwhile, while Ara is walking down the street, he runs into Akataru. The man says a few words to him, which immediately angers Ara, causing him to attack. However, Akataru strikes him with a whip. This makes Senja furious, so he fuses with Ara and rushes into battle. Akataru keeps attacking Ara, but all of his attacks miss. After that, Ara manages to land 2 powerful attacks. Both Ara and Senja become happy because they believe they have won, but Akataru touches his face and says that he finally remembered that pain. He then stands back up, leaving Senja shocked as he wonders if Akataro is actually a Junkie Vito, known as Ichiya. After a long while, we see Matakara arriving at the place where all the Angi boys are gathered. The moment they realize that Matakara belongs to Minato's group, several guys rush toward him to attack. However, Matakara is much faster and easily beats up two of them. But right at that moment, Ara suddenly appears, wearing only his underwear and a king's crown. This leaves Matakara completely confused because he never expected to see Ara in such a ridiculous situation. Akataro asks Era if Matakara is his friend, but Era immediately denies it. This makes Matakara angry, and he says that now they are finally going to settle everything once and for all. Because of this, Akataro prepares himself for battle. The fight begins, but with a single move, Akataro wraps Matakara with his whip and delivers a powerful kick. At that moment, Senja realizes that Ichiya may have already fused with Akataro. After some time, Akataro ties Matakara up, and Ara approaches him to talk. Matakara asks Ara why the hell he is wearing underwear, and Ara explains that after punching Akataro, the man trapped him with his whip and asked if he was still a virgin. Ara admits the truth, and because of that, Akataro brought several girls to seduce him. Ara becomes too embarrassed to fully explain everything to his old friend, but it is implied that something intimate may have happened. Matakara then tells Ara that he never expected him to become this kind of person because he believes that Ara has become far more of a Junkie Vito than he himself ever dreamed of becoming. Right at that moment, Akataro arrives and tells them that they need to leave because someone is waiting for them. Because of this, while they are heading somewhere else, Ara begins remembering the time when both of them were still just children. Some boys suddenly arrived to bully them, and Matakara did not want them making fun of their dream of becoming Honky Vitos. However, the boys beat Matakara badly, while Ara could not do anything because he was terrified that they would beat him too, so he ran away from the place. Back in the present, Ara thinks that he does not want to remember situations like that with his friend anymore. Meanwhile, in another scene, Minato's group and Siguma are about to begin a gang fight. This makes Mauro excited because she believes she will finally have her little brother all to herself. On the other hand, Akataro introduces Ara to the rest of the SJ boys. He offers Ara a chance to join them and leave the Siguma group because he says that Ara does not seem very comfortable there after everything he told him earlier. Ara replies that he needs to think about it first because he would like to know the NG boys better. Soon after, Akataro explains that their gang is represented by the 4 E's: Energy, Enjoy Joy, NC, and Emperor, which represent the values of the entire gang. He then says that Minato's group and Siguma are about to fight, so the SJ boys plan to arrive afterward and massacre whoever remains standing. This causes Senja to tell Ara that Matakara was right because neither gang actually wanted conflict. Ara finally realizes that the SJ boys are the real ones responsible for causing all of this chaos. Meanwhile, Matakara watches as Ara leaves together with Akataro. Right after that, Matakara falls to the ground and notices that the friendship stone has landed beside him. He wonders how Ara ended up abandoning their shared dream of becoming Honky Vitos together. In another scene, Kenichi and Marito prepare themselves to fight. Meanwhile, Mauro, acting like a true northern girl, admires her brother's incredible body. Back with Ara, while walking together with Akataro, the man asks him if he visited the temple where the genie was located. Senja quickly tells Ara to immediately deny it, so after hearing Ara answer no, Akataro becomes suspicious and tells him that from now on, Ara will become his right-hand man. However, Ara gets very nervous and says that it would not be fair to the people who have been in the gang much longer than him. Trying to manipulate him, Akataro attempts to convince Ara by saying that he could finally lose his virginity with the girls from their gang. Ara becomes completely excited, but then remembers that he is in love with Mauro, which throws him into a huge dilemma. At that moment, Akataro tells him that after eliminating Kenichi and Marito, he will finally achieve everything he has always wanted. Ara asks him why he is doing all of this because it seems strange that he would want to destroy everything without a proper reason. We then learn that a long time ago, Akataro belonged to Kenichi's group, and Kenichi once saved him. However, during a training session, Akataro started losing the fight and tried to pull out a weapon, but Kenichi stopped the attack because one of his principles was to fight honestly, without using weapons. Ever since then, Akataru has constantly watched Kenichi's behavior. Back in the present, Ara tells him that he is a little too obsessed with revenge. Akataro replies that the two of them are actually very similar and tries to convince him further by saying that women like strong men. This causes Ara to start imagining the girls from the gang and slowly become convinced. In another scene, Kenichi prepares himself for battle, and everyone is amazed after seeing his incredible physique. Meanwhile, Kakeru arrives at the CJ boys' base and beats up one of the guards. He then infiltrates the place and successfully rescues Matakara. Back with Ara, they begin watching the upcoming fight while most of the Senji boys appear to be somewhat possessed. Senja becomes angry after noticing that all of them rely on weapons in order to fight. At that moment, Ara nervously tells Senja that he still feels undecided because he wants a girl in his life. However, Akataro tells him that Marito has a sister, and after killing him, he plans to take the girl for himself. Ara suddenly feels like he needs to poop, but after hearing those words, he becomes filled with rage because, as we know, he is deeply in love with Mauro and cannot stand the idea of someone like Akataro ending up with her. At that moment, Senja starts feeling a strange sensation in his body, and we see the mark near Ara's butt glowing brightly as it absorbs Senja into him. Right after that, Ara throws a powerful punch at Akataru. However, because he desperately needs to poop, he immediately runs away afterward. Akataru then realizes that Senja is now inside Ara. In another scene, we see Marito giving the signal for the battle between both gangs to finally begin. Just when both sides were about to fight, Matakara and Kakeru arrived to calm the situation down. The boys tried to explain that the real people behind everything were the Senji boys, but since nobody really believed them, everyone still wanted to continue fighting. At that moment, everyone is interrupted after seeing a huge group of Angi boys chasing Ara. This greatly worries Matakara because he realizes that Ara came to tell the truth. However, Marito and Kenichi do not seem to care at all since both of them decide to continue fighting each other anyway. At the same time, the members of both gangs also begin battling each other. Soon after, we see both leaders exchanging blows while being observed by a man named WTA. He thinks that this entire conflict actually started a long time ago. Then we are shown one of WTA's memories. We see that both WTA and Marito used to belong to the same group, and one day, several guys tried to bully WTA, but Marito immediately punched them in the face. WTA explains that both he and Marito were the most popular boys in the entire academy, so every gang at that time wanted them to join their side. One of their friends then took them to watch a battle between Minato's group and another gang. When they arrived, they saw Kenichi fighting against his opponent, but Kenichi completely destroyed the guy. This immediately caught Marito's attention, so without hesitation he rushed in and tried to punch Kenichi. However, Kenichi blocked the attack effortlessly and simply turned around and walked away, leaving Marito completely stunned. Because of this, the losing gang begged Marito to become their new leader. However, WTA was actually the one who took leadership and challenged Kenichi to a duel. As expected, he ended up getting beaten badly. Right after that, Marito arrived and saw that his friend was seriously injured, so he immediately started fighting Kenichi and managed to land a strong punch on him. This caused Kenichi to smile for the very first time because he had finally found a worthy opponent. Because of this, both of them started exchanging blows non-stop. This made WTA extremely happy because he knew that Marito had been depressed for a long time and no longer wanted to fight. Later, we are told that after fighting for a very long time, neither of them won, so they decided to call it a draw. Back in the present, we see that both of them continue landing extremely powerful blows against each other. Mauro begins worrying about her brother because she does not want Kenichi to beat him badly. However, both fighters charge up their strongest attacks, and when they finally clash, they completely destroy the ground beneath them, ending in another draw for the second time. Everyone becomes worried at that moment, but they are suddenly interrupted when the NG boys charge toward them. Both gangs immediately think that they are fighting unfairly, so they rush to battle against the enemies. Senja thinks that if they join the fight, his fusion with Ara will increase tremendously because he wants to face Ichiya. However, he notices that Ara is actually trying to leave, so Senja attempts to motivate him with a few words. But Ara is feeling depressed because Maoro rejected him. Senja tells him that he should fight for his friends, but Ara refuses and runs away at full speed. Soon after, Ara arrives where Akataro is waiting, and the man tells him that he has been looking for him. Akataro then mentions Senja's existence and immediately starts beating Ara, telling him that if he does not fuse with Senja, he will die. Senja desperately begs Ara to fuse with him because Akataro is clearly not joking. However, because Ara no longer wants to keep living after being rejected by Maoro, he no longer wants to fight. At that moment, Akataro asks Ichiya if Senja is really inside Ara because he considers Ara far too weak. Soon after, Akataro heads toward the battlefield and openly tells everyone that he was the one responsible for causing the war between the gangs. Everyone immediately becomes furious and rushes toward him to fight. However, Akataro easily beats everyone with his whip because he takes advantage of the fact that both Marito and Kenichi are unconscious. After defeating several fighters, Matakara manages to land a kick directly on Akataro's face. This angers Akataro, who immediately starts beating Matakara badly. At that moment, Ara remembers the time when bullies attacked his friend, but he still does not know whether he should help him or not. Senja begs him to save his friend, but after seeing that Ara still refuses, Senja becomes nervous. Right then, Maoro arrives and tells Akataro to stop attacking everyone. However, Akataro suddenly punches her, causing Ara to desperately beg her to run away. Despite this, Maoro bravely stands back up and says that she would never run away because she believes Akataro is nothing but a nobody. Maoro then says a few words that make Akataro furious, so when he tries to finish her off with a kick, Ara finally steps in and blocks the attack. At the same time, Akataro begins striking Ara repeatedly with his whip, and Senja realizes that their fusion percentage is rapidly increasing because Ara is finally drawing strength from his own willpower in order to become a true fighter. Because of this, after several blows, the fusion percentage rose close to the maximum, and Ara managed to throw several punches. Akataro tried to block them, but because Ara was extremely furious at that moment, he broke through the defense, and after hearing everyone cheering for him, landed a powerful punch directly on Akataro's face, sending him flying away. Everyone was left completely shocked. Akataro tried to stand back up, but because of the massive damage he had taken, he collapsed again, giving Ara the victory and turning everyone into crazy fans of him. Even Senja was amazed after seeing Ara defeat someone who possessed Ichiya. At that moment, Ara's popularity started rising rapidly because everyone began admiring him. Even Maoro looked at him differently for a few moments. Wota was also happy with the outcome of the battle because even though both gangs fought each other, everyone finally found peace within themselves. Ara then spoke to Matakara, and his friend became extremely happy. Because Matakara had injured his leg, Ara ended up carrying him, allowing the two of them to finally reconcile again. After a long while, Ara returns home and is welcomed by his mother. She becomes extremely excited after seeing that her son has finally entered the world of fighting. However, Ara, already in a bad mood, tells her to stop bothering him because he wants to take a bath. While he is bathing, Senja congratulates him for throwing some great punches, but Ara explains that he only did all of that to win the heart of his beloved Maoro. Ara also asks why Akataro knew his name. Senja becomes very nervous and says that maybe it was just a coincidence. However, deep inside, Senja realizes that Ara has now almost reached the maximum fusion percentage, meaning they can fully fuse at any moment. This leaves Senja extremely excited because he will finally be able to merge his soul with Ara's. The next day, Ara arrives at the academy and notices that his beloved Maoro is not in class. Just then, another boy annoys Ara, and Matakara also arrives. Ara asks him about Maoro, and Matakara explains that she is at the hospital taking care of her brother. After hearing this, Ara quickly dodges the other boy with an agile move and runs toward the hospital at full speed. At that moment, Matakara decides to accompany him and tells Ara that his brother was arrested for attacking a police officer. However, before being taken away, his brother told him that he wanted Matakara to become a Hankibito. Because of this, Matakara happily says that his brother will be released next week and return home. After a long while, we see Maoro trying to feed her brother some disgusting-looking food. Marito feels uncomfortable with it, so he stops her. Right at that moment, Ara finally arrives, and Marito tells him that he has been waiting for him for a long time. Marito then starts throwing a tantrum while complaining that he is tired of being stuck inside the hospital. This causes Maoro to tell Ara to leave because only family members are allowed there. However, despite her words, Marito says that he actually wants Maoro to leave instead. Because of this, she walks away, and Ara decides to follow her. Once outside, Maoro suddenly pins Ara against the wall and tells him that it was pure luck that he defeated a nobody like Akataru. After saying those words, she leaves the place. However, Ara, being a complete masochist, becomes fascinated that a tough girl like her pinned him against the wall. Soon after, Ara returns to Marito and tells him that he will become the best brother-in-law he has ever had. Marito then says that it would be a great idea for Ara to start going on dates now that he has become so popular. Ara completely loses his mind after hearing those words and becomes extremely happy because he believes that his big moment has finally arrived. After a long while, Ara meets up with Tatsuto, who tells him that they are also going out together with Minato's group because Ara is now so popular that many girls will want to date him. At that moment, Tatsuto says that many girls will probably be wearing bikinis, and Ara, being a total pervert, immediately wonders whether his beloved Maoro will wear a bikini or something even more revealing. Meanwhile, in another scene, Matakara and his group comment that the gathering with the Siguma squad is going to be very fun. Kero does not seem very happy because he knows he could not do anything during the fight, and feels that he owes Ara something. However, Matakara tells him that Ara is not the kind of person who would hold that against him, and says that they should all go and enjoy themselves together. Those words immediately calm Kero down. Back with Ara, he looks at himself in the mirror and thinks that he has now become a muscular guy, but Senja tells him that he still looks like a skinny chicken with no muscles. Later that night, Senja tells Ara that the punch he landed on Akataru was absolutely incredible. Those words motivate Ara, and he says that he will definitely go to the gathering. He immediately starts imagining that it will be the perfect chance to spend time alone with Maoro. He even imagines kissing her on the beach, and becomes completely love-struck. At that moment, Senja thinks that Ara is a complete pervert and a dirty-minded guy after hearing him talk once again about wanting to lose his virginity. The next day, Ara excitedly arrives at the beach, hoping to enjoy some fun dates. However, once he arrives, he realizes that nobody is there, so he enters a tent with a sign that says Combat Tournament. At that moment, Tatsuto appears as the announcer and introduces Wota and Kenichi as the first fighters. Ara becomes disappointed after realizing that it was actually a fighting tournament instead of a fun beach event. Soon after, the fight between them begins, and Kenichi lands several blows on Wota. However, just when Kenichi is about to finish him off, he suddenly gets a cramp, giving Wota the victory. This makes Marito extremely angry, because now he no longer has anyone to enjoy fighting against. At that moment, Kakeru asks Ara to fight him, and Ara becomes shocked after seeing that his name is already registered on the list. Feeling disappointed, Ara goes outside to get some fresh air, but he becomes even sadder after seeing that Maoro is completely covered up. After a while, it becomes Marito's turn, and after he defeats his opponent, Maoro becomes completely crazy for him because she admires him like a god. Right then, Ara overhears Maoro saying that she is hungry, so like an obedient boy, he goes to get some food for her. At the food stand, we see that Akataru is being treated like a cook. Ara arrives there, and after ordering food, he asks Akataru how he knew Senja's name. Akataru does not answer him directly, and instead says that he should ask Senja himself. After Ara delivers the food, Senja suddenly drags him away because the next match is about to begin. Meanwhile, Matakara defeats several Siguma members, while Marito also defeats several Minato members. At that moment, Ara becomes happy because both of them are now finalists, meaning that if Matakara wins, Ara will not have to fight. Soon after, Marito arrives and Matakara tells him that Ara is probably not at his level. However, Matakara confidently says that he will fight with everything he has. Marito suddenly comes up with an idea and says that they should include Ara in the match so they can fight together. Ara immediately panics because he never wanted to fight, but Matakara tells him that he has no problem fighting beside him. Ara quickly tells Senja that he wants to fuse immediately, but Senja proudly refuses because he wants to see Ara fight without using his powers. Soon after, Ara and Matakara are matched against Nagare and Marito. The fight begins instantly, and both teams look extremely excited to win. At that moment, Ara notices that Maoro is cheering for the others, so he asks Matakara to switch places because he wants to prove that he is a real man. However, Ara immediately gets scared after seeing that Marito also switches positions in order to fight him directly. Because of this, Ara pretends that he has a cramp so he can avoid fighting, believing that Matakara will handle everything anyway. Right after that, Marito starts beating Matakara badly and locks him into a painful hold. Everyone tells Matakara that it would be better to surrender, but the boy proudly refuses. A few seconds later, Matakara breaks free from the hold and lands a punch that makes Marito bleed. However, this only motivates Marito even more, and after landing another blow, he is about to completely destroy Matakara. But at that exact moment, Ara suddenly tells Marito to look up, because there is a sandwich flying above them, and it happens to be Marito's favorite food. This creates a small distraction, but once Marito realizes what happened, he becomes completely furious with Ara. He immediately grabs him and starts beating him badly because when it comes to his favorite food, Marito has absolutely no limits. At that moment, Marito throws Ara into the air, while Nagare fights Matakara at the same time. However, Matakara defeats Nagare with a single move and rushes over to help Ara. Ara is holding a metal pipe because Marito is trying to attack him, but Matakara jumps in and accidentally hits both of them, which only makes Marito angrier and sends Ara flying once again. Ara then crashes onto Nagare, who had just gotten back up. Ara accidentally hits him in the head, causing both of them to fall down together and giving Ara the victory. Meanwhile, Marito becomes furious and destroys the entire tent they were fighting in. A few hours later, Ara talks with Matakara, who becomes very happy after remembering the old times when they used to fight together. He even tells Ara that he looked like a real Honkivito during the battle. At the same time, we see Akataru and Ichiya secretly watching the boys from the bushes. In another scene, we are shown a small memory from Matakara's past. In the memory, Matakara is inside what looks like a temple. He shows some words to his brother, and his brother explains that those words represent what a Jonkivito truly is. According to those teachings, Jonkivitos are brave people who never fear anything, and always face problems head-on. From that moment on, Matakara finally understood the true meaning of courage. Back in the present, several days have passed, and we see Mauro looking at pictures of her brother when Ara arrives. The girl immediately becomes disappointed because she is already tired of Ara constantly following her around. Just when Ara tries to invite her on a date, she quickly finishes eating and immediately leaves. At that moment, Matakara arrives and tells Ara that the two of them could eat lunch together instead. He also explains that he wants to prepare a special meal for his brother's return, because his brother once told him that he wanted to eat something delicious once he came back home. Ara accepts without hesitation, since they are friends after all. Throughout the rest of the day, Matakara invites the rest of his friends as well, including Kenichi. Back with Ara, while he is talking with Senja, the genie says that he already wants to meet Matakara's brother, because Ara mentioned the rumors claiming that he is much stronger than Kenichi. Ara then asks Senja why he is so obsessed with fusing with him. Senja replies that it is because he wants to form a family pact with Ara, which immediately makes Ara think that it sounded way too perverted. In another scene, Matakara visits the same temple where Ara found Senja. There, he notices several guys beating up Akataru, so he quickly steps in and tells them to stop immediately because Akataru had shown signs of becoming a better person. At that moment, Matakara stays behind with Akataru, and the man tells him that he regrets everything he has done. He even bows before Matakara as a sign of respect. Akataru then tells Matakara that he used to come to this temple all the time in order to train Ara and help him become a true Honkivito. However, he admits that Ara is far stronger than him. At that moment, Akataru starts acting like a victim and tells Matakara that he knows a secret about Ara. However, he only explains part of it, mentioning that Ara's key is located beside his forehead. After saying those words, he leaves the place. Right after that, we see Ichiya speaking with Akataru and telling him that he has now fulfilled his role because the two of them are secretly planning revenge against Kenichi. In another scene, Ara and Matakara are at Ara's mother's restaurant. Ara's mother becomes delighted after seeing that Ara finally brought his friend back to their safe place. We also see the two boys cooking gosas together in preparation for Matakara's brother's return because Ara turns out to be a very skilled cook. The next day, all the invited friends from the group arrive at the restaurant to help decorate the place early. Meanwhile, Matakara heads out to pick up his brother from juvenile detention. However, after waiting for several hours, Matakara's brother finally comes out and says a few words that are not revealed to us yet. Whatever he says leaves Matakara completely shocked, to the point that he even drops the umbrella he had brought for his brother. The next day, Matakara's friends ask Ara's mother if she has seen him because everyone had been waiting for him the previous day. The woman explains what happened, although the full details are still not revealed. After hearing this, the boys immediately go to search for Ara. Soon after, they arrive at the academy, grab Ara, and take him somewhere else because they need to discuss the situation. They explain that Matakara's brother was apparently stabbed in juvenile detention and might not survive, which is why they have no idea where Matakara currently is. They then ask Ara if he knows where his friend could be. Ara becomes irritated and tells them that he has absolutely no idea where Matakara could be. Kakeru gets angry and says that Ara should at least know something about his friend, but Ara replies that the two of them are no longer friends anymore. After a long while, Ara sits down to eat lunch, and his mother prepares the guasas that Matakara had cooked earlier. Several hours later, we see a very sad Matakara thinking about how his brother might die. Suddenly, he notices something strange behind him and realizes that a mysterious shadow is following him. Matakara begins running through several alleys until he finally comes face to face with the mysterious shadow, leaving him completely terrified. Later that night, while Ara's mother is putting away things inside the restaurant, Matakara suddenly appears in front of her. The woman expresses sympathy for what happened to his brother, and Matakara asks about Ara. After allowing him inside, we see Ara sleeping peacefully while Matakara quietly sits in front of him watching him rest. Suddenly, Matakara notices something beside Ara's forehead. At that moment, he remembers both Ara's words and Akataru's warning, so out of curiosity, he touches the spot. Unexpectedly, Senja suddenly appears right in front of him. The boy becomes completely terrified and runs away screaming because he thinks Senja is some kind of monster. At that moment, Matakara runs as far away as possible until he arrives where Akataro is. Akataro asks him if he was able to see Senja and tells him that Ara's strength is completely fake because it mainly depends on the genie. Akataro also says that Ara is not a true Hankivito, but Matakara refuses to believe any of it and says that everything he said is a lie. Because of this, Matakara immediately runs away at full speed. Meanwhile, in another scene, Ara and Senja head out to search for Matakara, because after running away, he disappeared completely. Ara does not seem very worried about it, and Senja asks him where Matakara might go, since he would probably choose a place that feels special to him. Because of this, Ara thinks that Matakara might be at the temple where they used to train together. Once they arrive there, they discover that Matakara is actually there. Matakara immediately asks about Senja because he admits that he was able to see him and hopes that it is not true that Ara's power comes from another being. Matakara then says that he knows Ara was not always as strong as he wanted to be when they were children, but from now on he himself will become stronger so they can continue sharing the dream of becoming Honkivitos together. However, Ara rejects those words and finally confesses that when they were kids and got beaten up, he ended up running away. Matakara refuses to believe it because Ara never used to run away from problems. In the end, Ara admits that Senja is real and says that the dream of becoming a Honkivito now belongs only to Matakara. After saying those words, Ara leaves the place. After some time, Akataro arrives at the temple where Matakara is sitting in fear. Matakara mentions the strange shadow that has been following him, and Akataro says that he can help him. He then takes out the same gun that Ara once used to summon the genie and encourages Matakara to fire it. Eventually, Matakara decides to pull the trigger. The bullet bounces back toward him, and when Matakara gets up, he realizes that he now has the same object on his forehead as Ara. The moment he touches it, none other than Ichiya appears before him. Right after that, Matakara loses consciousness, and Akataro becomes furious at Ichiya because none of this was part of their plan. However, the genie tells him that he no longer needs him and admits that he only used Akataro in order to obtain a much stronger body. Since the darkness inside Matakaro is far greater than Akataro's, Ichiya says that he has no further use for him anymore. Several days later, Ara and the others begin wondering where Matakara is because nobody has seen him for 3 days. For the first time in a long while, Ara becomes genuinely worried ever since the two of them became friends again. Meanwhile, Akataru returns to the Angi boys' base and overhears the others talking about humiliating him badly, so he leaves the place feeling completely disappointed. A few hours later, Era returns home. Senja still does not seem convinced about the friendship between Ara and Matakara, so he punches Ara in an attempt to make him feel better. In another scene, Matakara's friends arrive at the hostel, looking for him. The woman in charge tells them that Matakara already came back, so they go to his room. However, they find him smashing his piggy bank, and without saying a single word, he suddenly leaves the place. After a long while, because Ara's shower is broken, he is forced to use the public bath. There, he accidentally bumps into Matakara, but without saying anything, Matakara immediately runs away at full speed. Meanwhile, Akataro desperately searches through the temple for a solution. At that moment, he discovers a scroll that talks about the origin of the Jonkivitos. Back with Ara, while he is at the public bath, he runs into Matakara's friend named Kamau. The boy ends up washing Ara's back because of the punch Senja gave him earlier. Meanwhile, Kakaru asks Ara if he has seen Matakara. Ara says yes, but mentions that Matakara did not say a single word to him. This worries Kakaru, and he says that they should talk to Matakara because he clearly needs support right now. In another scene, Wota and Marito enter the room where Maoro is staying. They begin talking about the news regarding Matakara's brother. However, both Marito and Maoro, who was secretly listening nearby, become shocked after hearing for the first time that the injured man was actually Matakara's older brother. They realize that Matakara must be suffering badly since he has not attended classes for many days. Back with Matakara, we see that he is terrified of the darkness surrounding him, so he decides to summon Ichiya. The genie tells him that he can help because those shadows represent his desire to run away. However, Matakara refuses to believe that and says that all he has ever wanted was to become stronger than before. Despite this, Ichiya tells Matakara that he probably gave up a long time ago and that maybe all of his friends only accepted him because they wanted him around. In the end, Ichiya says that Matakara never became stronger because he is still tied to the dream of becoming a Honkivito together with Ara. Because of this, he tells him that the only way to move forward is to defeat Ara. The next day, Maoro arrives to speak with Ara and asks him to come to the rooftop. Ara immediately thinks that his moment has finally come, but Maoro tells him that she is very worried about Matakara because his brother ended up dying. At that moment, Ara remembers the conversations they had before and starts imagining that maybe Maoro is actually in love with Matakara. Maoro then asks Ara if he has ever stopped to think about whether his friend is okay. After realizing that Ara does not seem to care about Matakara, Maoro becomes furious and tells him not to speak to her again until he learns to have a heart. After a long while Ara is walking together with Senja, Akataro suddenly appears. Ara becomes nervous and asks him once again how he knows Senja. Akataro replies that he will find out very soon. We then see him slipping a piece of paper into Ara's pocket before leaving the place. Meanwhile, Matakara becomes depressed after realizing that he must defeat Ara in order to free himself from the monster that keeps following him. After hearing several manipulative words from Ichiya, Matakara slowly begins falling into the genie's trap. The next day, Era heads to the public baths while Senja talks with him. At that moment, we are shown a memory from Senja's past. He explains that he also once wanted to become a Honkivito. Senja reveals that when he was still a child, he once saw Ichiya defeat a much bigger opponent. From that moment on, he began admiring him. Later, when they both grew older, they became close friends, and Ichiya was even the one who gave Senja his name. Finally, Senja mentions that there was one event that completely changed everything, although we are not told what it was yet. Back in the present, Senja tells Ara that he should respect someone who has wanted to become a Honkivito since childhood. Senja also says that ever since he connected with Ara, he has constantly wondered why he chose him out of so many people. He explains that since the moment they connected, he noticed that Ara is very honest about his feelings and actions, which is what makes their bond so valuable. Senja even believes that Ara is very close to becoming a true Honkivito. Ara jokingly replies that he does not like compliments from men and tells Senja not to get the wrong idea. At that moment, both of them are interrupted when Matakara suddenly appears in front of them. Matakara tells Era that he needs to defeat him in order to become a Honkibito, and immediately charges toward him while throwing several punches. Senja warns Era to be extremely careful because Matakara now seems like a completely different person. Because of this, Ara and Senja instantly fuse together and block one of Matakara's punches. However, after hearing several words from Ichiya, Matakara manages to land a direct hit on Ara. At that moment, Senja realizes that Ichiya is controlling Matakara. Meanwhile, Ara, without fully understanding what is happening, tells Matakara that they should not be fighting each other. However, because Ara suddenly gets a stomachache, he sits down and leaves himself completely vulnerable. Matakara then throws a kick toward Ara's neck, but after noticing that Ara is not defending himself at all, he stops before landing the blow. Ara can no longer hold it in and suddenly runs away at full speed. Because he desperately needs to poop, Matakara feels terrible after seeing that something is clearly wrong with Ara, although he does not understand what it is. At that moment, Ichiya realizes that Matakara's kindness is so great that he cannot bring himself to seriously hurt his friend. Because of this, Ichiya understands that he will need to work harder on manipulating Matakara if he wants the two boys to truly fight each other. Meanwhile, Ara treats the wounds Matakara caused him, and Senja finally confesses that Ichiya has possessed Matakara. However, Senja refuses to explain much more and immediately hides afterward. At that moment, Ara notices the note that Akataru secretly left him earlier. Because of this, Ara heads toward another location where he meets Akataru once again. There, Akataru reveals Senja's secret and says that Senja actually wants to take over Ara's body. In another scene, we see Matakara becoming mentally disturbed because of everything that has happened. At that moment, Ichiya begins pressuring Matakara even more, causing him to fill with rage. We then see the trauma monster that had always been following Matakara suddenly disappear. Because of this, Ichiya realizes that he is close to taking control of Matakara because all he needs is a little more anger in order to awaken those emotions completely. Back with Ara, he refuses to believe that Senja wants to steal his body. However, Akataru tells him that he can simply ask Senja himself. He also tells Ara that he should save Matakara before Ichiya fully takes control of him. After saying those words, Akataru leaves the place. The next day, Ara arrives at the academy and decides not to talk to Mauro because he remembers the harsh words she told him earlier. At that moment, on the other side of the classroom, he notices Mauro and Kakeru inviting Matakara to join them and play together now that he has finally returned to class. Ara watches everything happening and tries to make Senja come out, but for some unknown reason the genie refuses to appear. After a long while, the boys are seen inside an arcade because Matakara says that he is bored and wants to go buy some drinks. At that moment, a group of Angi boys accidentally bumps into Matakara's shoulder. Matakara reacts aggressively and punches the guy along with the others. Mao and Kakeru arrive and become shocked because Matakara normally always avoided fights like this before. A few hours later, Marito's group runs into Matakara. Without hesitation, Matakara charges straight at Marito, but he quickly gets beaten badly. At that moment, Ichiya tells him that it is still too early to fight Marito, so he orders him to leave immediately. In another scene, Ara tries to speak with Senja and asks him if it is true that he wants to take over his body. However, Ara is interrupted by his gossip-loving mother, who has been secretly listening to everything. She misunderstands the conversation and thinks Ara is talking about a girl who wants his body, so Ara quickly kicks her out because she starts imagining perverted things with her husband. Meanwhile, Matakara is at the temple, and we see that his fear of hiding and running away has returned. Because of this, Ichiya manipulates him by saying that the only way to overcome that trauma is by defeating people. The next day, while Matakara is walking down the street, he spots Tatsuto in the distance. Ichiya immediately tells him to attack, so Matakara brutally beats Tatsuto. Right at that moment, Nagare is nearby buying ice cream when he hears rumors about what happened between Matakara and Tatsuto, so he rushes to the scene and finds Tatsuto lying on the ground. This causes Nagare to become furious and attack Matakara. Nagare manages to land several punches, but Ichiya tells Matakara that if he loses now, the monster haunting him will continue tormenting him forever. Those words motivate Matakara, and he starts brutally beating Nagare. Even Tatsuto tries to stop him, but Matakara punches him as well. After a long while, Ara is in class when he hears rumors about Matakara, saying that he almost killed both Tatsuto and Nagare. Meanwhile, Nagare is resting after the severe beating he received. Tatsuto says that Nagare should rest because he seems depressed after being defeated. At that moment, Marito and Wota arrive and notice how badly injured Nagare is. Marito reminds Matakara that he is supposed to be his prey, so he warns him not to touch him again. After saying a few final words, Marito even gives Nagare the snack he brought for him. Once Wota and Marito leave, Wota tells Marito that he has a bad feeling because Matakara and Nagare used to be equal in strength, but now Matakara has suddenly become far stronger. Marito agrees that something bad might happen, but instead of being worried, he becomes excited because he thinks things are about to get really interesting. In another scene, Matakara brutally beats up several guys. His friends arrive and tell him that he is not the kind of person who would normally do things like this, but Matakara coldly replies that this is simply who he is now. At that moment, the boys tell him that Kenichi is waiting for him, but Matakara refuses because he believes Kenichi should be the last one. Just then, Marito uses the school megaphone to call Matakara out and tells him to meet him in the courtyard for a fight. Everyone immediately heads toward the courtyard, and the atmosphere becomes extremely tense. Ara rushes there at full speed because he wants to tell Matakara the truth. However, when Ara arrives, he sees that the fight has already started. Marito begins landing several powerful blows on Matakara, causing him to become nervous. Even so, Matakara also manages to hit Marito multiple times. At one point, Matakara gets distracted, allowing Marito to hit him directly. From that moment on, Marito starts overwhelming him with non-stop punches. Desperate, Matakara even tries to cheat by throwing sand into Marito's face, but just as he is about to finish him off, Marito lands another punch that sends him crashing to the ground. At that moment, Ichiya thinks that Matakara has already reached his limit and decides that he is no longer useful. However, while Marito continues punching him, Matakara realizes that even though he is still lying on the ground, he has not truly reached his limit yet. Matakara slowly begins standing back up, catching Ichiya's attention once again. Just then, Marito rushes toward him with a finishing kick. However, in that exact moment, Matakara desperately wishes for the power to overcome all of his fears. That is when Ichiya finally realizes Matakara's true potential. He immediately fuses with him and takes control of his body. Matakara blocks Marito's attack and counters with a devastating punch that sends Marito flying into a metal fence, leaving everyone there completely shocked. Marito tries to stand back up, but his legs begin trembling before he collapses onto the ground. Matakara then walks over and starts brutally beating him in front of everyone. Maoro begs him to stop, but nobody dares to interfere. Even Marito himself cannot understand what is happening because Matakara had always been considered weak before. Marito, with a smile on his face, realizes that for the first time in his life, he has lost against someone else. Right after that, Matakara delivers a finishing kick that knocks him down to the ground. Everyone is left completely shocked because one of the strongest fighters has just been defeated by someone who used to be considered one of the weakest. Soon after, Ara goes somewhere else and desperately starts calling for Senja. The genie finally appears, although he does not seem happy at all about everything that has happened. Senja then begins explaining that a long time ago, during his era, the emperor wanted to stop all the people who dreamed of becoming Honkivitos. One day, both Senja and Ichiya were training together, and Senja ended up losing against him. Ichiya believed that his friend was mocking him. Eventually, both of them prepared for a real fight because Ichiya revealed that he did not have much time left to live. Even though one of them could die, neither of them cared, and they started fighting seriously. After several hours of battle, Ichiya finally managed to knock Senja down. However, just when Ichiya was about to reveal his true power, someone suddenly shot him. Senja tried to run toward him, but he was also shot. Because of this, Senja tells Ara that ever since that day, he has been searching for answers about Ichiya. Hearing this makes Ara hesitate because he does not want Senja to take over his body. At that moment, Senja thanks Ara because he truly enjoyed spending time with him. After saying a few final words, Senja separates himself from Ara and leaves. Later that night, Matakara brutally beats up a group of people. After leaving the area, he runs into Ara. Ara immediately explains that Ichiya is possessing him and that he could even die because of it. However, Matakara does not seem to care and says that he is doing all of this because he wants to become stronger than Ara. Right after that, Matakara walks away, and Ichiya tells him that he should simply kill Ara already. However, Matakara refuses because he still has unfinished business first. In another scene, several boys approach Wota and ask if Siguma Squad is going to disappear. Wota angrily replies that he has no intention of abandoning the group just like that. A little later, Matakara arrives where Kenichi is staying. He beats up several people there, including some of Kenichi's friends, causing Kenichi to come outside and ask what is happening. Matakara then challenges Kenichi to a duel and tells him the exact place and time where they will fight the next day. Later that night, while Era is working at his mother's restaurant, he overhears some customers talking about Matakara fighting Kenichi the next day. Ara serves them their food, and they become completely amazed by how delicious it is. At that moment, Kenichi arrives and asks Ara to come outside so they can talk privately. Meanwhile, in another scene, Wota arrives at the hospital, where Mauro tells him that her brother still has not woken up, because he was seriously injured and remains unconscious. The next day, Kakeru and Komao become nervous because there is only 1 hour left before the duel begins. At that moment, Kakeru remembers something from the past. He recalls that on the same day he first met his friend Komao, Matakara had challenged Kenichi to a fight. During that battle, Matakara's attacks had absolutely no effect, and Kenichi defeated him badly with only a few punches. Right after the fight, both Kakeru and Komao approached Matakara and offered him some juice, in hopes of becoming friends with him, because Kakeru admired the fact that Matakara had the courage to challenge one of Minato's strongest fighters. Back in the present, Kakeru asks Komao to bring Ara to the fight because he is Matakara's friend. Without hesitation, Komao immediately heads out to find him. In the next scene, we see Nagare and Ota looking very worried because Marito has been unconscious for several days. Nagare became angry at that moment, but Tatsuto slapped him to calm him down, so Wota stepped in and calmed both of them. Meanwhile, Kenichi was preparing himself for battle. At the same time, Matakara was heading toward the battlefield, when he suddenly ran into Kakeru. Kakeru tried to stop him by punching him in the stomach, but it did nothing to Matakara. In response, Matakara kicked him hard in the stomach and then brutally beat him up, leaving the boy seriously injured. Even while badly hurt and lying on the ground, Kakeru still tried to stop him, because he told Matakara that he is his friend and that he wants him to return to normal. Those words made Matakara hesitate for a few moments because they reminded him that he is important to many people. On the other hand, Komao arrived with the protagonist and told him that they were going to watch the boys fight. Arajin did not seem very convinced, but Komao reminded him that they are friends. Meanwhile, Kenichi arrives at the beach where the duel will take place, along with many spectators who came to watch the battle. Soon after, Matakara arrives and declares that he plans to defeat Kenichi so he can become much stronger himself. Ara also arrives at the place together with Komao. After seeing the situation, we are told that when Matakara was still a child, he was abandoned for no reason at all. Because of this, his older brother became the one who raised him and the only family he had left. However, after his brother was arrested, Matakara lost the only support he had, which is what caused him to lose his way. Meanwhile, the fight begins and Matakara lands a punch directly on Kenichi's face. However, he gets overconfident, allowing Kenichi to counterattack with a powerful blow. Just when Kenichi is about to finish him off with his special technique, Matakara asks Ichiya for power. Because of this, Matakara dodges the attack and punches Kenichi back. Kenichi then starts receiving serious damage as Matakara unleashes a barrage of attacks against him. However, Kenichi chooses to endure the blows because he remembers a promise he once made to Matakara's brother. In that memory, Matakara's brother asked Kenichi to take care of Matakara if something ever happened to him. This is the reason why Kenichi has not been fighting seriously at all, since Matakara's brother was someone he deeply respected and cared about. At that moment, Matakara lands a devastating kick directly on Kenichi's neck. This leaves all the spectators completely shocked. After realizing that he managed to land the finishing blow, Matakara removes his jacket and throws it into the water. At that moment, we finally learn what Kenichi told Ara the day before. He had asked Ara to stop Matakara in case things ever got out of control. At first, Ara told him that he could not do it, but Kenichi replied that he definitely could because Ara's own strength would be enough even without Senja's power. Back in the present, several hours have passed since the battle, and Matakara says that he can finally fight Ara now. At the same time, Ichiya feels extremely happy because fighting Ara means that he will also get to fight Senja again. Meanwhile, Ara arrives at the temple where he first met Senja. There, he picks up the same weapon that originally gave him the power to summon the genie. Ara then shoots himself in the head once again in order to summon Senja back. After Senja appears, he asks Ara to state his wish, and Ara replies that he wants incredible strength. At that moment, we are shown a memory from when Ara and Matakara were still children. Young Ara once overheard Matakara training every day inside a temple. At that time, they still had not met each other yet, so Ara became curious. Several hours later, Ara went to the place where Matakara was training. Matakara became surprised after seeing him there, but one of his own traps accidentally hit him. So Ara stepped in to help him. That was the moment their friendship truly began because Matakara explained to Ara the meaning of being a Jonkivito and why it was so important. Because of this, Ara gave Matakara the Friendship Stone and promised that both of them would become Jonkivitos together someday. Back in the present, Ara tells Senja to fuse with him and angrily says that he does not care if he dies because all he wants is to save his friend. Meanwhile, everyone in Siguma squad becomes extremely worried because they no longer understand what Matakara has turned into. They also wonder where Ara is when they need him the most, but Wota mentions that maybe Ara knows something that the rest of them do not. In another scene, several men are walking down the street when they notice Matakara acting very strangely. Terrified, they immediately run away, and we finally see that Ichiya has completely taken control of Matakara's body. Meanwhile, Mauro is still worried about her brother because he has not woken up yet. She goes outside to get some fresh air and overhears some nurses talking about giving anesthesia to a patient, which instantly makes her become very serious. After a long while, Kenichi is brought into the same room as Marito. As they begin calling Marito's name, he suddenly wakes up. We then discover that Mauro and her friends disguised themselves as nurses in order to wake him up, and they become happy after seeing that their plan actually worked. At the same time, Wota and his group visit Ara's mother to ask if she has seen him. After realizing that Ara is not home, the woman assumes that her son is out with girls and tells them to let him finally become a real man. The boys are left completely shocked by how perverted Ara's mother sounds. Back with Ara, we see him traveling together with Senja when they finally encounter Matakara. However, Senja immediately warns Ara that Ichiya has now fully taken control of him. At that moment, Ara tells Senja to take control of him as well. Senja hesitates for a few moments, but eventually accepts because he also wants to fight Ichiya. Right then, Ichiya says that it has been 300 years since their last battle. Immediately afterwards, Senja fully fuses with Ara, and the two sides begin fighting in what becomes a true clash of titan. After exchanging several blows, we see that Ichiya proves to be far stronger than Senja. Senja even begins thinking that he cannot defeat him because he remembers all the times Ichiya beat him when they were children. Right after Senja receives a kick, Ichiya explains why he risked his life in the desert centuries ago. He reveals that he was already dying at the time and had very little time left to live, which is why he wished that Senja himself would personally kill him. Hearing this finally makes Senja understand many things about his old friend. Just when Ichiya approaches to finish him off, Ara suddenly enters Senja's mind and tells him that he is making a fool of himself in front of Ichiya. Senja replies that he could never defeat his old companion, but Ara punches him, forcing Senja to come back to his senses. At that moment, Senja punches Ichiya in the stomach. This makes the genie laugh like a madman, and both of them immediately charge toward each other to continue fighting once again. Meanwhile, in another scene, Kakeru and his friend watch Ara and Matakara fighting from a distance, so they immediately begin running toward the battlefield at full speed. At the same time, Matakara's mind remains completely isolated, yet he still wonders why the dark monster continues chasing him. Back in the battle, Senja fights with overwhelming fury, and Ichiya admits that this is the first time he has ever seen him fight this seriously. Both of them become motivated because after 300 years, things are finally unfolding the way they always wanted. The battle continues, and both fighters smile happily as they exchange countless blows. Eventually, both unleash one final attack that creates a massive explosion across the area. In the end, Senja wins the clash. Even though they were enemies, Senja still reaches out his hand toward Ichiya because, after all, they used to be companions centuries ago. Ichiya admits that he is happy to have finally fought seriously against his old friend. However, at that very moment, the dark monster suddenly wraps around him. This causes a massive darkness to burst out from Matakara's body, and the creature declares that it will now personally destroy Ara. Right after that, Matakara lands 2 devastating blows that badly injure Ara's body. Senja realizes that if this continues, Ara could actually be killed. Meanwhile, Ara wonders if he is truly going to die and begins remembering all the people he cares about. However, Ara suddenly finds motivation deep within himself after thinking that he absolutely refuses to die a virgin. Because of this determination, he regains control of his body and blocks the attack Matakara was about to land. At the same time, Ara's friends and the rest of the group rush toward the battlefield. Meanwhile, Ara desperately tries to dodge Matakara's attacks, but they are far too fast, causing him to take countless blows that leave him severely injured. Senja warns him that if they continue like this, they will eventually be killed. Matakara then lands another powerful kick on Ara, and Senja tells him not to stand up anymore because Matakara only wants to prove that he is stronger. Despite the warning, Ara keeps standing back up no matter how many times his friend beats him down. Eventually, Ara rushes directly toward Matakara, and Matakara says that all he wants is to defeat the monster haunting him. At that moment, Matakara becomes frightened after Ara tells him that the real monster is actually himself. Ara then asks him what exactly he is so afraid of. Those words cause Matakara to completely lose control, and he begins screaming that he does not need Ara, his brother, or anyone else. Ara finally realizes that Matakara has always been terrified deep inside, and that the dark monster chasing him is actually his fear of being left alone without friends. Ara then understands that this situation is partly his fault because he was the one who abandoned his friend in the past. At that moment, Ara decides that this time he will not run away again, so he willingly takes a devastating kick directly to the face. Even so, Ara's willpower grows stronger than ever, and he begins charging up a powerful attack. Right then, he lands a punch directly on Matakara's face, finally pulling him out of the darkness consuming his mind. After saving Matakara's soul, a massive explosion erupts across the entire area. Senja watches in complete amazement, because Ara is now surrounded by a bright yellow aura. Senja then declares that Ara has finally become a true Hankivido. At that moment, Senja says a few final words to Ara, and admits that one day he would love to fight him personally. Right after that, Ara walks over to his friend, and Matakara becomes extremely emotional. However, Ara tells him that he is not as alone as he thinks because he truly has many friends by his side. Finally, Ara takes out the friendship stone and places the seal into Matakara's hands. This makes Matakara happy because he realizes that Ara has regained faith in him and in their shared dream of becoming Hankibitos together.